Welcome to the VET S.O.S podcast. Remember, don't drown the sea of transition. Grab the VET S.O.S lifeline. VET S.O.S is brought to you by the Who You Know Network and proud members of the Parade Deck community. We also can now be heard on Reach Across America Radio on Thursdays at 4 p.m. Eastern. You can find Reach Across America Radio on iHeartRadio, Odyssey, and the TuneIn apps. Today, we're sitting down with Donna Rogers and Robby Hedrick from the Coffee Bunker. They're doing some great things for our community. We're really looking forward to getting into this conversation. And if you live out there in the Oklahoma area, you probably want to pay attention. This is some good stuff, great benefits for you out there. So looking forward to jumping into it. Eric, I don't know what to tell you. You're still here.
Am I still here?
Still here.
Am I still here?
Yep.
What did you do to Keith? That's what I want. Can we just like, I don't want to create like the who done it thing, but where's Keith, buddy? What did you do?
Yep. Where in the world is Keith San Diego?
That's right.
So Keith's still out on vacation with his family, getting some valuable family time. Glad that he's able to do that, and Eric and I definitely both appreciate that, and can probably take a lesson from him.
Yeah, maybe. Don't let him hear that. I don't want his head to get too big.
I can edit that part out. All right, so we'll jump right into it here. We got Donna Rogers. She's a retired career tech counselor with over 32 years of experience in education. After retiring, she dedicated herself to supporting veterans and achieving their educational and training goals. As an Army dependent for 14 years, Donna has a personal connection to the unique challenges faced by the military families and is passionate about sharing her insights on the brat experience. I love it when people refer to the brat, as myself growing up as a military brat. Robby Hedrick here leads and directs all programming offered by the Coffee Bunker to engage and empower military professionals, spouses, and veterans to achieve their post-military aspirations through personal and professional development by resourcing and equipping them in the areas of leadership, communication, education, and personal growth. He has served in both the Air Force and the Army. How are you guys doing today?
Great.
Good. Excellent.
Good to be here.
Thank you for having us.
We are definitely excited to have you here. So we're going to start, Robby, with your transition, or should we say transitions, doing both Army and Air Force. We'd love to hear a little bit about, your transition out of the services and how that went.
Yes, sir. So my transition from the Air Force to the Army was fairly simple, right? It was kind of an overnight deal because I didn't really have a break in service per se. I had to have like a 24-hour break, so they camped me out at MEPS, right? Got to do that thing again, the fun duck walk and all that stuff we've all done before. I got to do it twice,
Nice.
Right? And then went back into the Army, or to the Army. And then when I got out, my transition was a little bit, for me, difficult. And I think that's a story we've all heard before, right? And to the point, if you look at it, I want to say the DoD itself has over 45 federal programs aimed at veteran transition alone, right? So this is a systemic issue that no one has really solved and found a good issue to it. And that's where programs like what you do and what we do really come into play. And I can talk about that further if you guys like. But one of the things is they tell you, at least in my case, hey, they're ready for you. They're waiting. Go out there. Life is good. We've prepped you. In my case, that wasn't necessarily the thing. I felt job ready. I felt competent, had the education, had the skill set, but I faced challenges, right? It wasn't as easy as or led me to believe, or I thought it would be. I'll take ownership for that. I thought things were going to line up. So that was a little bit of a setback mentally because it didn't work out as I thought. Now, ultimately, things worked out. Went back and did some extra schooling to put the blocks and opportunities in place to get me where I wanted to be. But it wasn't a straight path. It wasn't a linear line to success or where I wanted to be in life. It kind of zigged and zagged. And luckily for me, along the way, I had organizations like the Coffee Bunker and mentors that kind of helped guided me and shaped me along the way and gave me that advice I needed. And so that was pivotal for me in my transition. And I knew now, being on the other side of it, there's too many veterans and spouses that don't have that guidance or those people to help them with those lessons learned along the way. Ultimately, I'm here giving back to the veteran community to hopefully shortcut that process so they don't have to do the hard work that I went through. And hopefully they can shortcut that success and make that transition easier.
That's fantastic. And just out of curiosity, do you feel like you did it backwards going from the Air Force to the Army?
Okay, you must.
So,
Everybody, everybody.
so here's the questions I always get first is, which we answer first. Which one did you first, the Air Force to the Army? And then they say the next question is, which one did you like the best? Okay. So in a veteran podcast, I can be a little more forthcoming and honest with you guys. So I always say they both sucked in their own ways, but they also gave me some of the best experiences and the best friendships of my life. And I wouldn't trade it for anything. Right. So depending on what you're looking for, they were great. And they also were horrible, depending, like, when I was in the Army and we were doing a field problem for a month, I hated the Army, right? I was like, oh, I should have gone back to the Air Force, and vice versa. But they were both great experiences and great opportunities, and I loved them both, and had a fantastic experience.
I've got to believe that the two different experiences, right? Like you talk about the Air Force, it feels like, at least in my experience,
Eric, I think you froze. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
You're back.
Okay. I've got to believe that in experiencing the Air Force and the Army, right? The Air Force probably felt like, I don't know, at least from what I've seen, having been deployed with you guys, kind of like the orphan that got adopted by the rich family, right? And then the Army kind of feels like a toxic relationship.
Right. It's very love hate, right? So and I say that, one of the biggest factors for me switching services, because I did a lot of joint service schools and joint service assignments, and the camaraderie, and we would all make fun of each other, right? Pretty standard, right? We'd give each other a hard time. But like many things in life, there are more commonalities and differences. And when we would sit at the chow halls or DFACs or whatever the lingo is in your service, when you boil it all down, we had that human experience, the shared experience, right? We'd all be like basic BMT, whatever you want to call it, boot. It sucked for everybody, right? And when you boil it down, we'd all be like, because this is a common denominator, we'd be like, it sucked, but then we'd be laughing at the experiences we'd have, right? Or we could all relate to the one guy who was just like, how do you make it through? Well, the guy that was the PT stud, or the guy that was our best friend who we never thought we'd relate to in life. And it was just that common experience, that shared experience across services, across domains. And so that was one of the big experiences. And then just the different opportunities. I was like, I would never have this opportunity in the Air Force or vice versa. And that was one of the big reasons for that transition. Just having started on the Air Force side, the Army offered a different set. And same with the guys that were in the Army and went to the Air Force, and you see a lot of crossover with the Marines going Army and vice versa.
Yeah, that was my story. I went Marine Corps and then Army.
Yeah, and so you see a lot of when you reduce it down, that shared experience is the same, but it really comes down to that opportunities, right? I hear a lot from the Marine guys that went Army. Army has a lot of cooler toys and more experiences. So just different things, really neat. But yeah, that was a big thing. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, I just went back to the recruiter station and passed the ASVAB. That's why I was able to join the Army.
In Cran. So Donna, real quick, let's get your story of what led you to working with veterans.
So my father was a career Army, retired as a lieutenant colonel, and I was 14 when he got out of the military. And I got to experience how hard my dad's transition was. He went into the Army at 16 and didn't even have a high school diploma.
Wow.
So he moved up the ranks with a GED. And so he was a medevac helicopter pilot in Vietnam, had a wonderful experience. He really loved his job, but got out and thought that he had a skill set that would transfer to the civilian world, only to find out it didn't. He didn't have the college education. His training was very specific. So my dad kind of slid into a depression for a while. And as I tell Robby, when a service member transitions, so does the family. When a service member experiences depression, so does the family. So because of my developmental age, I pretty much just absorbed that. And when I went away to college, I made a mental note that I wanted to go into a career that would make a difference. Unfortunately, my degree didn't pair up with Oklahoma's VA, but I ended up having a career working with adult and high school students. And many of my adult students were vets coming out using their GI Bill. So I retired and I looked around and I knew I wanted to do something. I didn't want to work with high school kids anymore. And I wanted to do something as a nod to my dad. And I found the coffee bunker.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Gentlemen, interesting note. Donna's father's flight suit is actually memorialized in the Broken Arrow Military History Museum. His flight suit and helmet and everything is on display over there.
Very
So
cool.
Very, very cool thing.
Yeah. That's outstanding. Okay, so I think I'm gonna ask you this question just because I think it needs to come from the woman that started this whole thing. Can you tell us? Can you just the listeners, the folks that are watching? Can you help us kind of wrap our heads around the vision and the mission of Coffee Bunker?
So our vision and mission of the Coffee Bunker has evolved over the years. I don't know if you know our history. We started 14 years ago as a result of a young man who entered the Marines and was deployed twice to Afghanistan, came back to the United States, had a real hard time with his transition, and took his life. Became one of 22 that day, 22 veterans that took his life. His mother was a missionary in Turkey, came back to the United States, and wanted to create a safe place for veterans to just come and share their experiences. She feels that would have made a difference for her son, Daniel. So over the years, we have moved from just being a safe place to helping our veterans move forward. So Robby's position helps veterans reaching out all across the country that are transitioning with employment, with resume, mentoring, how to use LinkedIn. And then my job in helping them move forward is let's get you into training. Let's get you into college. Let's get you some certifications, because then they won't languish. They have purpose. They have motivation. So now our mission pretty much is let's help you, transition you, and move you forward.
I love that.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
I love that.
So
I think go ahead, John.
Well, I say when someone comes to the Coffee Bunker, walk us sort of through that. Someone new walks in the door. What do you guys do?
So it's individualized, right? So one of the unique things about us is we are not a national organization per se, right? So you've got great organizations, you have your hire heroes, your wounded warriors, name them, that are broad. We're at that sweet spot here in Tulsa where if you come in, you're going to work with me, you're going to work with Donna one-on-one. You know where I sit, you have my phone number. So you get a direct line to me, you get a direct email to me, you walk in, you hang a right, you know where my desk is, so you can vent and do that. That's important for what we do because we sit down and individualize your plan for your needs, which everyone does to some degree, but we scale it where you are. And so we're heavily involved in the local community, right? And so that really allows us to tailor it, whether that's you just came back and you're trying to get into school and you need to work with that. And we're doing assessments based on your needs and your aspirations. One of the things that is unique to what I think we do here is we go into a lot of the companies and the veterans employee resource groups, and we help. One of the things that I think is overlooked in the veteran community are the veterans in the local community and employees and that are already contributing in, and we help upskill them as well, so they can promote and do better in whatever their goals are, and then can turn around and contribute back to the community even more than they already are. And all of our services are free. So again, it really depends where you are and what your goals are. So that's a broad question, and I wish I had a better answer for you, but it depends on what your goal is, what your aspirations are, and where you are. And I say that because we have guys that come in that have gone from homeless, and their goal was just to get off the street. And our success story is they're a shift manager at McDonald's, and that's a success story for us. And we have guys that are now CEOs and execs that came in as middle managers, and we helped tighten things up, do interview prep, and they got to the next level. So it's a range, and success story is different for that individual veteran, right? So I wish I had a better answer for you, a cookie cutter answer, but that's not how we do it. And I think most of the good organizations out there do the same process. It's just hard to encapsulate that for an
Well,
easy answer.
I've never heard a Tulsa referred to as the sweet spot, but from now on,
Yeah.
I think that it is now the sweet spot of America is Tulsa,
It is.
Oklahoma.
It really is.
You have
Yeah,
to get you on Sylvester Stallone's new show.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting too, though, Robby. You kind of touched on something where like, and I think you're right. I think that the organizations that are doing it right are the ones who know how to meet someone where they are. Right. And I guess that's where I want to take this is what makes your process unique to meet people where they are.
So I can speak from my side, and I'll let Donna speak from her side, because they're two different approaches depending on the goal. I will say one of the unique things for me, again, in being a veteran podcast, and so we can be a little more direct, right? Because that's what we're used
Correct.
to, right?
Correct.
And really, I don't care if it offends you or not. I'll just tell you how it is, right? Because if you work with me, then you've already heard my spiel. I'm not going to work harder than you are on your transition,
Yep.
and I tell you that up front, right? I will put as much effort in as you will. And I say that if I ask you to do task ABC and you do it the next day, then I will match your energy level, and then bam, I will do what I told you to do, and then we'll go to the next series. Now, if you wait till next week, then I know your priority level, and then we go from there. So that's one of the unique things. And I let everyone know that up front, right? I match your energy and your pace, and I'm not going to go out of my way to make your transition successful, because that's just it. It is your transition, and you are in charge of that. And I make that very clear up front, right? And I tell them, I am not your headhunter. I will prep you, I will equip you, I will resource you and give everything you need to be successful. I will encourage you, I will motivate you, I will be honest with you. Right? I have led off right here, told you, if you can't tell by now, I'm very direct and honest with you. I will again reiterate, I will tell you where you're lacking, but I'm going to encourage you and correct you and motivate you as well. That's very unique. And I think that's important, because for me, that's what I think makes them successful, is knowing that up front. And that's one of the key ingredients, because they know where we stand. And I've had people that have backed off because of that, right? And there are organizations and other groups, not just in the military world, in life, that will handhold them and do that. But that's not me empowering and equipping you. That is me doing it for you. And that has its own set of issues down the line. But I need you to be successful so you can stand on your own and go on your own. And then when you come back and you say, hey, I want to be a vice president, we have a better set of problems than what we started with, and I'm excited to help you with those problems. So that's one of the first unique things. And then that level of customization. And one of the things, the last thing I'll say is, I know that I'm not good at everything. And so I don't want to compete with every organization in town, but I want to complement what they do and not compete with what they do. And when we talk about being in that sweet spot, I can say, hey, you need to go see Kate over here, because this is what Kate does well. And we have that relationship and that social capital. If I say, Kate, I'm going to send you Robby, she knows that I have vetted Robby, and Robby is going to do everything that he says he's going to do. And Robby knows that I'm sending him to Kate because I trust Kate. Right. And so that's one of the uniqueness. And that's why I say we're at that sweet spot level. Where the giant organizations, they do what they do well, but you kind of lose that personal touch depending on how big you get. And that's one of the things I think we do really well. Now, on Donna's side, she has to do it from a different approach because they're trying to do education, and I'll let her talk about that side. So, Donna, you want to answer your side?
Pretty much what Robby said. Because I'm a career tech counselor, I don't always drive veterans to colleges. I believe that it's really important for them to assess their interests, their value system, their skill set, and try to come up with a plan that they can be successful. So I can talk to anybody around the country because the assessments are there. They're normally free and available. Sometimes I think that they have not had that level of career counseling as much as when they go to a college, the college kind of directs them to their specific majors. And sometimes I think that's not effective. So I kind of have this objective look for that veteran so that they have the best information possible. But I also wanted to mention too, although Robby and I are on this transition piece of education and employment, I need to say that the Coffee Bunker also serves a critical place in Tulsa for our veterans, especially our older veterans. In our community room in the back, we have a table called the Connection Table. And every day you will see these guys. I've got a Korea veteran. I have 3 Vietnam veterans. They come every single day to have coffee and to share stories.
I love it.
Yeah, so I don't want to minimize that for sure. We also have a food pantry. We help our veterans. We have hygiene packs. We've got a computer lab in the back and a huge library. So we try to, when you talk about meeting veterans where they are, it's not always in Robby's space and in my space. It's their space, and we try to identify that.
Yep.
So would it be fair to say that the coffee house part of it is kind of like the bread and butter where people come in to have a cup of coffee and just sit and talk? Or are you seeing a big sense of community just happening around that piece, or is that just a big aspect of what you guys have going on?
So I would say what you don't see here in the physical space is if you were to go back, we have an open room that has TVs, tables. Being the Coffee Bunker, we have coffee, right? It's a gathering space, a community space, and we transition. We have like Super Bowl Sunday, we'll have events and stuff, but every day they have food and things like that. Initially, that's what brings people in. Community connection, right? And that can be a little overwhelming for any veteran of regardless of rank, service. If you walk into a space, right? What do these people want? What are they going to do for me? Do they need something? Whether you need a resource or not. And that kind of breaks down those barriers, right? There's a bunch of guys in there, and their sole job is to bullshit all day. And they're very good at that. That's what they do is drink, and they make you feel welcome, and they just want to talk to you and hear your stories. Now, throughout that process, if you said, hey, I may need help with this or this, and they'll say, hey, go see Robby, go see Donna, go see these people, and then we can assist you with that. And there's people that don't need anything. They just come in to hang out and have a great time. So to answer your question, Sean, yes, that is the initial draw. And as people feel comfortable and they feel more, these barriers break down and that initial hesitation and, because you don't know, right? It can be a little overwhelming, a little hesitation walking into a place for the first time. And they know we're not going to bombard you or make you feel uncomfortable. Then things start to open up and they know that sense of trust is there. That's when we see the relationships happen, the openness happen. And it all begins with that community that happens in the back for the most part. You're right.
Yeah, that whole community piece is huge, and getting away from the isolationism and getting people out, and you have that warm, welcoming environment where people. I mean, we're veterans. Most of us drink coffee, to a degree, and some of us drink way too much of it. But
well, and Sean, I think what we're getting at, that's what takes it from being a transactional system to the community.
I love
right?
it.
Transactional is me saying, hey, I need help with the resume, or I need a food pantry, or I need this. That's like going to the bank and I need this, or going to Walmart. Hey, help me with the resume. Here's this, boom, and I'm out. That's fine, and if that's what you need. But like when we're talking about individual need, when you come in for a resume or educate, hey, we're following up with you. We're checking up on you, right? When you're done with us, hey, how's that job going? How's this going? Hey, by the way, we're having a Super Bowl party. Why don't you come in? So that community is there versus that transaction. Hey, you did this, you're done, right? Those follow up emails, those calls are there. How was your Thanksgiving? And so, yes, Sean, you're absolutely right. And I think that's what makes that difference is that community aspect. Brotherhood is kind of a catchy term these days. That idea. The veteran world, you guys know what I'm talking about. The military spouses know what I'm talking about. The FRGs and all that stuff. That's what keeps our clientele, our customer base, our veterans keep coming back because it's not okay. We helped you. See you next time.
Love it.
Yep.
Absolutely love it.
Hopefully that made sense, right? It probably didn't, but in my mind, it made sense.
Now, I know that you guys, and I don't want to jump in too deep because I know we're getting close on time. Oh my gosh, we're getting so close on time. Okay, really quickly, I'm because you guys partner with employers, right? That's one of the things is partnering with employers and helping folks find the right employer, right?
Right.
I want your let's see, we're gonna go to Donna first because ladies first, and then we're gonna go to
No.
Robby. But I want your 30-second. What is the advice you give an employer about the why it's important to hire veterans?
Veterans bring a skill set. They bring a specific behavior set, as discipline, conscientiousness. They're on time. They're reliable. They are leaders within their own right. They are the best employee as long as the employer has their system set. If they have their information, sometimes we'll see they will take a veteran and it's a respect issue. So I always tell employers these guys are used to being respected, and they are guys that are used, and gals used to showing respect. So I think that the service member, the vet, just brings a skill set that demonstrates leadership and all of the job duties that employers would want. And that's the feedback we get from employers.
Yeah.
We get that they love hiring veterans.
I love it, Robby. I'm gonna tweak your question just a little bit.
Yes, sir.
What do you tell one of our brothers and sisters? How do you get them to see that they're worth that kind of an effort by an employer?
I say, one, I think you have a lot to offer. Your skills are transferable. The biggest thing is you need to learn how to make them translatable because a lot of people don't understand that. And then two, when we go into it, we always say military are leaders, but how do you make that? One is I say the military makes great leaders because they first taught you how to be a great follower. And that started in basic training. And you learn what makes a good leader and what makes a bad leader. So you've already been exposed to that throughout your time, regardless whether you were leading a PT formation as a private or specialist. If you're a lieutenant colonel, now you've seen both. You've been exposed to both sides of the coin. So your excuse of being a good leader or a bad leader, or what makes a good leader, a good follower, you've seen both sides. So we can take that out of the equation. You've seen it, you've been exposed to it. Now you know. Now you need to sell that as you go through it. And the other thing I tell our military members is you're teachable and you're coachable. You've been to the schools, you've done the AARs, the after action reviews. You know how with feedback in your performance reviews or every day, your reflection questions, how to take that, apply it, and make yourself better and be better at your profession, right? Most people go through the day and they don't know how to do that. And that's one of the things we do when I mentor and talk to these guys. Doing your performance reviews, like watching the game footage at the end of the season. You know this, you just don't know. Most people don't know how to apply it in their civilian career, right? And so that's what you take when you're selling yourself to the organization, the company, which they don't know because most haven't been exposed to it. So that's how I tell them, sell it to the the organization or the company you're applying for.
Yeah, I love it. There's a big difference between transferable and translatable, right? And I love that. I love that's the angle you take. Okay, guys, I don't know how we did it, but we are already out of time. So I've got one last question for either one of you, whoever wants to answer. What is the best place for our audience, the guys that are listening, the gals that are listening, to go ahead and connect with you?
So LinkedIn or our website, I think, is the best place. Really, again, our goal is to meet you where you are, whether it be Facebook, any way, any medium you want to connect with us, and then we'll go from there. If you say, hey, phone, email, text is best, then we'll do that, and then we'll pick it up from there. We're not hard to find, right? So just reach out, and we'll be more than willing to accommodate you and whatever's easiest for you. And again, realize if you're a spouse dependent, we're here for you. All our stuff's free, so don't hesitate. Like I said, if we're not the experts, we will help you connect with whoever is the expert in what you need. Same with you guys, your audience. I'm sure Sean and Eric, if we're not the guys and you're hearing this podcast, they know a million other people who would be glad to connect you with the experts and what you're looking for. So don't use that as an excuse or barrier not to get the help you need. And I'm going to a little bit over time, guys. Last thing is, remember, in the veteran world, post-transition, I always say this, you're the customer. If you come talk to us and you don't like the way Robby looks or he looked mean at you, you're the customer. Go to another organization that you do fit in. You're not obligated to stay with me or us or anyone else. Find the right fit for you and your needs to make you successful. I said this earlier, you're in charge of your transition. Everyone's here to help you. So if someone's not the right fit, find someone who is that will help you. Thank you, guys. I apologize. I made your 30-minute podcast go like 31 minutes. I'm so sorry.
No, we're good. We're good. Listen, if I'm ever in the sweet spot of America, count on me and knocking on the door for a good cup of coffee.
Please do. We would love to have you.
Outstanding. All right, listen, everyone. On behalf of the VET S.O.S family, thank you so much for taking the time to sit with us and join us today. Thank you for enduring the B team showing up again. I appreciate you and love you guys. Listen, make sure you follow and subscribe us on YouTube and to your favorite podcast platforms. Remember, don't drown in the sea of transition. Grab the VET S.O.S Lifeline.